Hello, beautiful people. I made it. I made it today. Okay, so where are we at? Beginning of December. I actually today jumping on am going to talk about something that I wasn't going to yet, um, just because I was getting distracted with another solo that I want to do talking about wearing and not wearing a wedding ring at times, for myself and uh, other people. It's just a perspective, so you might want to tune into that. It's a very interesting story that there's many reasons. Have people in general have many different reasons why they don't wear them, or do wear them. And I am one of those people because, first and foremost, too, that ever since I started fighting and training, it would get really annoying, of course, in my glove, and I'm not going to wear those rubber ones and all that sort of stuff. And also because, just to give you a little glimpse of what I'm going to be talking about, having to take them off constantly when I do facials, and the massage oil and the creams, worrying about losing them. So a variety of reasons. Okay, so nothing really juicy. You might think it's going to get juicy, talking about that subject matter, but yes, there are very many reasons, because a lot of us, the conditioning or what we've been shown and told of, people not wearing them can be really scandalous. Even though I do make jokes about it, saying like, "Hey, I'm wearing my rings. I'm married today." Okay, so anyway, today, before I record on that, and I'll do it in a separate show because sometimes I like to combine, but I realize some people just jump on some of these and are listening for the first time. So I don't want to overwhelm anybody. And that is one of my biggest problems, people, is that I want to talk about so much, and learning to simplify is really challenging for me. I know that might sound really dumb and stupid, and why, but maybe that's the part of the overthinking and gathering my thoughts. And it's just, no matter what I do, the amount of meditation or whatever it is. So every time I jump on here, I know, kind of saying like, "Oh, let me simplify," or try to break it down, and I end up rambling like I am now. So let's get today. So this isn't a new topic. This is actually, I think maybe I've just found the words, and sometimes it takes me a long time to actually put words clearly in my writing or when I'm speaking, to be able to explain to myself. Once I've been able to feel like I can explain it to myself, then I can explain it to you, just to give the perspective. And I should start all my shows by saying is that a part of what I'm doing, um, is being able to give you perspective, right? It is never my way is the way. It's one way and works for me and my life. And it's all about freedom and mindset and choosing a different way to be if we want to, realizing that a lot of our thoughts as we become adults, right, that we have been influenced, if you want to say conditioned, programmed, whatever it is, okay? But I've always been an outside the box thinker since I was a teenager, and not following the crowd. And it started in a lot of different areas, not just my music, but kind of just a like why does everybody dress the same? Like, why is everybody looking the same? Why are people like, why? And kind of trying to understand like what's going on out there. And so that was growing up in my world in Pennsylvania. Okay, so getting to this topic, friendships. I'm gonna say, so this, I'm gonna title this probably under my mindset playlist. This is basically friendships, right? Friendships slash those are relationships, and basically feeling like I've been dumb and ignorant for a very long time. And maybe that sounds bad talking about myself, but I do feel like that. Maybe by the end of the discussion today with myself, that I will change my mind about that. But I feel like it's okay. I can only blame myself, but also a lot of us are are learning certain things, I guess, for the first time, the first experience. So that's one thing that I've also realized in getting older, like looking back at young kids and being like, wow, like they are experiencing these certain situations for the very first time, and their stories, whether it's talking about getting involved with drugs and how they had these epiphanies and all these different things, whatever it is, maybe going to a club for the first time or whatever it is. And it makes me laugh because people thought like this before us too, but now being that person. So usually people would be like, "Oh, you're young," or "They're young," or whatever it is. But anyway, it's interesting to be a later, adult later in life observing all of this. So, friendships, relationships, all this stuff when I was younger, we'll say before 19, I don't even know, but for just teenage years, is that I was always, I came from that attached. mm, I guess, mindset. And that actually I saw from a good friend growing up, one of the girls I was uh, best friends with early on. You can hear my story on that playlist, Hypnotized by Physical Beauty. But I came from that. But not only coming from that, I've always loved very deeply putting in my all, just giving of myself always naturally, right? It's like, what better way, like when you love somebody, to just show it, right? And so I never expected anything back. Hopefully, I don't repeat this again later in the episode, but I never expected anything back. I've just realized along my journey thus far how much energy that I have put in, how I have exhausted myself, and it's nobody's fault but my own. And I don't really, this is not to say I take any of it back. It's just I have to really use discernment moving forward because of realizing I don't even want to be so bitter to say that people don't give a fuck, because there are good people and there are people like me that are appreciative. I just think I just gave it so loosely and around anything, right? From like gift giving or making people food or going out of my way, driving across town for things, and never anything like that. I would come back and be like, oh, you know what I fucking did for them, and they didn't do this and that, whatever. So I don't take any of it back. I just think that being ignorant that not everybody else is like that and not everybody else will appreciate it is for me to have learned this very long down the road second chapter in my life to have learned this is disappointing. And so I wanted to put into words that this has all been as a result, while whatever the reason, I'm still going to say that I'm naturally like this, um, that I have focused on people. Okay. So maybe those of you might not understand when I say like people are human beings, but pretty much, right? I'm focusing outside of myself, and I've put so much focus and energy into other people. And as a as a result of me learning these things and me learning that outside of myself, I have been doing these acts of kindness, and I had to learn in my own way, as we all do. Some of us don't learn, but what that saying meant that my dad's dad, who I never met, said. And that was that he never saw much use for friends, that you were lucky if in this lifetime you could count the ones that you have on one hand, and that they will, did I just say this? End up disappointing you, right? Three things. Didn't see much use for friends, they'll end up disappointing you, and you're lucky if you can count on one hand the ones you have. So I never really had a lot of friends, so I could totally relate to only having a few, but I didn't really understand. I feel like that's kind of a bitter outlook basically almost like just saying though, in general, right, people end up disappointing you. And because I love deeply so much, I want to believe certain things about people that, somebody, because this is also what I've realized, even some people that I've met, or vast majority of people that were just nice people, like, I wouldn't say they did loving things or acts of kindness or service, or maybe had the same values. They were just nice people. And we're not going to go into, I think a lot of us know there are lots of different types of friends, acquaintances, people come and go. Sometimes they are soul contracts that are here long term. There's those people that are friends, if you want to call them, out of convenience. You work with them, and then you leave. Right, one of you leaves, and then you try to keep in touch, and then they don't. I was always the one, the keeping of the in touch, including growing up with my two friends that moved away. My dad was driving me to go visit them, so I have always been the one efforting. And when I stepped back, this happened probably the past 6 years, so it's 2026, and you step back, and not only the fading away of people, my clients, different things that could have totally wrecked me internally on such a deeper level. So it just must have been time for me to, get that area of my life phased out and start fresh. Is that, you step back and you see how little people effort, how little that they do, and for whatever reason it is, right? This is where I noticed everything. Everything that I'm talking about, who's sticking around, who's faded, like I said, faded out. Okay. And I could list in here all from every, sideways, up and down, back and forth, back and forward, all of these reasons that people are no longer around, right? All of you, I'm sure, have plenty of reasons. And it's not just a growing apart, it could just be uh, other life changes. Okay. So I'm talking, aside from uh, having families, kids, it could be, I'm just going to state it out loud, right? Because I feel like I've covered everything, but I know this list could go longer. Your schedules change. Some people have actually blocks, to getting closeness, or just don't want a friendship that deep. They mm, don't want a friendship, aren't in alignment with what a friend is, like what I consider a friend. Maybe they don't have maybe they have different morals. Maybe, again, going back to life changes and having kids, maybe you guys want to parent differently. So it ends up right differently, like each other. Like, you don't, it's a friend, right? But you don't agree. So that kind of distance you. Maybe there's their significant other, husband, wife, girlfriend, boyfriend, kind of distract them. I've had people disappear for like 6 months, because they met somebody new. Some people, this is, I was just in the shower thinking about, like, some people are just stoners. And when I say that, because I do have people around me, whether they've left drinking, right, alcohol, or drugs, or I've heard about these other sorts of things, deeper drugs. Well, those are way people that I've just met through other people. But when I say the stoners, like just being in another land, doing their own thing, but they literally are stoners. So all of these things, to basically, this is a perfect example of not taking anything personally. So this is not, oh, I'm better than you, I'm more evolved. We are just basically on a different frequency. And with that being said, I know that I sometimes am going at 100. Sometimes how I talk, the passion, and this reflects in all areas of my life. And I understand that now. And sometimes it's a little bit too much, too high energy for people, just too, like, it's like they can't keep up, which I understand. Because once you get texting with me, like, it can be too much. So that's why I need a radio show like this. It's like a radio show. Look at me running my mouth. It's 15 minutes already. Okay, so this has also, so as a result of doing this, and this is why I say that I'm dumb and ignorant, because why would I ever assume that somebody, like, I guess I thought that maybe the majority of the people that I've met were as interested in me as I am of them, and that is of giving love. It's natural and easy for me to do it. So, much to my dismay, right? This has caused my own suffering because I look back at who is left and who efforts now. And just this is why I say putting so much into even your person, always focusing on what they're doing and not doing, right? And what I'm doing and what I'm not doing. Like it's the same thing. So, maintaining and surviving in this journey, that's why there are parts of it you may agree and feel like talking this whole walking alone thing. Because even when you're with somebody, you can still have feelings like this. And you may feel like this too. That's why we have these different tribes of relating to. If you, there are certain parts, that you may not um, discuss too with your significant. I'm just giving an example of like trauma. Sharing all of these sorts of things that people don't always do. That's why they may have a therapist, right? That makes sense, right? So, thinking that your significant should be your all and your everything, and you disclose everything and you share all your vulnerabilities and all of that sort of stuff, there's a purpose and a place and a reason behind why you have that particular soul contract with that person, your person, right? And each of these people you meet in your life, some of them will have deeper contracts you will have with them than others. Okay, so I understand that, but I still go back to seeing as a whatever, if it was a cultural thing that caused this close thinking I need to have this closeness and friendship. And I really respect the love and the friendship, and I'm not saying anything about that aspect. I just think that I didn't realize that there weren't as many people like me because, you attract who you are. So maybe I thought I had more deep rooted, true friendship people, and, or maybe I did at that time. And so that's why I always say be present and enjoy the moments, the great conversation, the happiness with those people while they are here, because so easily things could feel like they fall apart, or the person disappears, or they get upset with you, or maybe you feel like they can't forgive you, whatever it is that causes a suffering. And being choosy, because it really, when you find the deep love friendships, it's worth it if the other person is willing to work on it, right? Just like marriage or committed relationships of love. Okay. So, causing my own suffering, I do think, moving to the city, so country girl to city girl back to country, I do think whether it's California or West Coast or this sort of mindset here, is that what I've realized, people speed up on the road here. Back where I'm from, they slow down, right? I'm just giving this hustle bustle and whatever it is, right? I don't, narcissists can exist everywhere. But my dad always said the city's where they throw all the nuts in. I love that. I do think it got exacerbated. It gave me exacerbated this flake. I had never known what that flake word meant. So I think it just like reinforced it and validated it, and as well as ghosting. And so it just led me to believe that like city and glam life, were a lot of the causes, and not being spiritual and perhaps wearing a mask, right, was the cause. People wearing masks, they want to appear a certain way, and a lot of things would not make sense. I mean, this could be with things I've interacted with, the people over the years, regardless of if they were in my industry or not, meeting people at the park, even when I was, uh, my daughter was, younger, going to the park and meeting people and exchanging numbers. It's like, why would you have this great conversation with somebody and you think things are flowing and you're actually like, yeah, we should get together or whatever. And then they would just never answer a text. And I've gone through so much of that twisted, I feel like fuckery in my head. I mean, I did all the, I text again? Did I follow up? Did I do this and this and this? Is this the right phone number? Like all those sorts of things. And this didn't just happen once. So this is how I know, and this has happened with emails, that a lot of these uh, types of acquaintances and different things too, with the emails, um, people not responding, but you didn't know why they didn't respond. So while all these different, and then, maybe I'd ask, and then they would tell me, but this is why I ask questions now. In any involvement in communication with people, what's the best way to reach you if I don't hear back with you within so many days, blah, blah, blah. It's almost like incorporating a sales technique through it. So going back to the, okay, they don't respond, they don't do XYZ, but they said they would. And it almost again it caused more mental fuckery in the grand scheme of things, because even when I liked people, I don't want to say it seemed like a physical death, but I'm using that example because sometimes there were situations with people, and then the ghosting or not talking to just anymore or that often or several years down the road. And it was almost like a physical death just because you weren't talking, you couldn't see them. Yet people have come back into my life. So that was like triggering abandonment stuff. People have come back into my life and I've been surprisingly shocked, like my hairstylist after 20 years. So again, that's one of those things where she bounced when she got a boyfriend, disappeared, didn't see her for a while. And she told me that was a lot of just being involved with him and stuff like that. And so again, no taking personally. Um, don't ask me why though, like it, okay, I could see you taking a break, but then us not talking ever again, but also I didn't reach out. So in that situation, we didn't have a whole lot in common. So I hope you got all of that because I talked really fast. So I had planned on ending this. This actually gave me a little bit of a headache typing this up because I just wanted to get it off my chest. But I will go ahead and end now. I can't believe I talked that fast for 22 minutes. Is that, moving to the city, learning about all these things, self defense, all this stuff, I'm talking about now, personality disorders. Uh, I think I've got everything covered to satisfy this incessant persistence that I've had trying to understand people, why they do what they do, why this has, happened in my life, what did I learn from it? And also learning too that just people being unconscious of their actions, that's another thing. I think I've just become even more compassionate over the years of just understanding like people just they don't realize what they're doing or they're not doing. And I can be the same way too. That's why I'm always upfront and being like, I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. I don't want to do this and that. So please know, like, it's always coming from loving intentions, whatever it is. And I just want people to know that up front. There's no trying to figure me out on that level. I say what I do and I try to follow through on that. You might question me on other things that might sound confusing as a result of becoming basically so open minded. I really think that's a lot of what it is, learning about so many things like this, looking at this from so many different angles has, I guess, provided some sort of sanity because it gives me reasons. You know, there's always a reason behind the whatever it was. So now being discerning that I have to withdraw sometimes, I embrace the solitude to go in and manage life and figure it out that, I want less drama. I want less stress and focusing on other people, what they're doing, saying, feeling, all of that sort of stuff, not getting so close, especially with clients, right? My facial clients, on any level, I'm there to make them feel good and relaxed. We don't need to have deep relationship friendships, but I know that we will build something there, especially if I'm seeing them every 4 weeks, you know? It's like that in my industry. Hopefully, they are coming that often. So that is the lesson. Continue and focus on my mission work. And best advice ever for all, if this is you, is that yes, there are good people, nice people, people that value the same things you do. And just reminding you to hold on to those and really just watching yourself and your health, because I do think I not to say at the time none of that drained me, like I said, but now I feel maybe I'm more so it's when people start, it's how much they start sharing or when they start sharing, I can kind of tell how deep that I want to go, and even in the topics. So I'm definitely not trying to make best friends with people or everybody that I meet. I think I just a little bit like cling was clinging to that idea. And that's all I got for my psychoanalyzing today, folks. Okay, so I will talk to you in the next episode. And maybe this provided some help for you, just in terms of giving some insight for those of you that maybe kind of feel the same way or struggle in the same way. I have a bunch of life lessons, of course, that I feel a lot of them have taken a long time for me to process in kind of like an almost an OCD way, like repetitively over and over again. And just like I said, putting into words that I guess my ignorance and just feeling like those people, like maybe there is still some resentment and bitterness that I need to let go of. And hopefully I did that today. Okay, so I'll talk to you in the next video. Thanks for listening. Bye.